Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight, episode 46 of Scaled Success Reptile Podcast. And tonight we have Delta Hogz, another Western Hognose breeder. So really excited to always talk Hognose on this channel. Make sure you guys are here. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. And if you guys want exclusive content, make sure to join our Patreon, which is live now. Started earlier this year, building the community where everybody can help each other. So go check that out. We're going to start hosting monthly get-togethers online so everybody can help each other, projects, breeding, or any other species, learn from each other. So we got that going on. Make sure you guys drop a comment down below. Say hi to myself. Say hi to Josh. And, if you guys have any specific questions about the episode tonight for me or Josh, drop a super chat. Helps us continue the podcast and everything that goes putting this together. So make sure you do that. What else? What we got in our world? A quick update for us, Clover's Reptile World. Clutches are being laid. 2 clutches are being laid right now, right behind me. So we're, as of this morning, we're clutch 10 already. And we have another 2 clutches and one female. She has some eggs still left, but she's just getting them down. So we have one that started laying today, waiting on that clutch, and then one more female that is still we're waiting for her to lay her first clutch. And then we got a handful of stuff. Looks like they're going into their second clutch already in pre-lay shed. So busy season, you know how it goes. Busier season is coming as soon as eggs start hatching. We're about halfway mark for our first about like 3 or 4 clutches, halfway mark through incubation period. And then we've had a couple shows since the last episode. We had a couple Repticons here locally in Florida. And then next week we have Repticon Port Charlotte, if I am correct. Let me double check. So yes, next weekend, May 3rd is Repticon Port Charlotte. And then May 10th and 11th will be Repticon Orlando. We don't have too much left. We have about like 20 hognose left from 2024 and one really badass Arctic Sable het toffee male from 2023. Everybody googles at him and, gives him thumbs up, fire emoji and stuff like that. But nobody's picked him up yet. So he's up for grabs still. So if you need a male that's ready to go, ready to plug into a project either still this year or ready for next year, make sure to take a look at our morph market. We're running a quick sale right now as well. So if you want to get a deal on him, check that out. And then what else? Once eggs start hatching, we get busy with the babies. And then we're going to start doing some, after eggs start hatching this, we'll start doing some shows out of state once we have more stuff available for you guys to check out. So yeah, that's what we got going on, world. Let's say hi to people that are here. Bobby Evans, what's going on, man? Another Texas guy here. Definitely, good to see the Texas people here showing support for Josh. Nixon Reptiles, what's up, bud? Another guest from our Scaled Success Reptile Podcast. Bosa Reptiles, and the local South Florida reptile guy. Thanks for joining us tonight. Austin Factor, what's up, AJ? How things going, man? Thanks for joining us tonight. Without further ado, we're going to start bringing on Josh and get this conversation started. So if you guys make sure you guys are ready for the show. And if you have any questions, drop a super chat. What's up, Josh?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good, man. Good, man. As always, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for taking your time, to share your information, share your journey with us. So, looking forward to this.
Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. We set this up. I met you in person. Was this 2020? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was 2024 September NARBC over here in Dallas.
Maybe it was. Yeah, something like that. So met you in person, started chatting and stuff like that. That's one of the best things I like about going out of state and just once the local, I've done the local shows here, pretty got much to know everybody. But once you start doing like the out of state stuff, finally get to meet people that you follow online and build a relationship and start talking to people. It's really, really, really good.
Yeah, the shows are fun, but I also struggle with them just because PTSD and all that stuff. So it kind of gets like a little overwhelming. So, but yeah, no, I always have a good time. I get to meet basically everybody who I've been talking to since I joined in the hobby, like Eslin, you, and the Harbins and everybody else. It's just nice to finally put actual faces to everybody.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that face to face interaction it's doesn't compare, right? Like it's really cool to see that. Um, before we get into the conversation, I need to shout out our sponsors and get that reel going real quick. So, guys, if you guys are into reptiles, animals, make sure you join USARK Florida. It's a another part of USARK, but it helps specifically with any legislation here in Florida, which we know a lot of times is the beginning of any legislations that will start spreading across the U.S. Like the tegus, any of the bigger snakes. More and more states are starting to jump onto those bans. So make sure you guys join USARK Florida. And then if you haven't yet, go ahead and join USARK National as well. So they help fight any legislations across the nation here in the U.S. And, it's important to support each other and support the nonprofits that help support our hobby and the animals that we love. And for our sponsorships, we have Sea Serpents, racks and incubators. If you guys are looking for a PVC rack or PVC incubator, make sure to go check out Sea Serpents. Message Chris, tell him Clover's Reptiles sent you over, and he'll definitely help you out. He travels out to Texas, NIRBC, Tinley, a couple of the states up north, PA and stuff like that. So if you are in those areas and looking for a rack, message him, see what next time he'll be up in your area, and you can set up a pickup at your local reptile show. So he doesn't have to, save on some shipping and stuff for that. But he's got great products, and he also does a little bit of custom work. So if you're looking for an enclosure or maybe a specific rack size, message him. He's willing to work with you guys. Great customer service. So can't, say any more great things about him and his company. Next, we have Blake's Exotic Feeders. If you guys want to add a little variety to your hognose or your reptile feedings, go ahead and message Blake's Exotic Feeders on Instagram or go to their websites, Blake's Exotic Animal Ranch. He's got button quails as small as I think like 5 grams or something like that, enough to go feed a 6 to yearling hatchling hognose, all the way up to extra large regular Contornix quail that you could feed to your monitors, any other bigger animals. And we've been feeding our animals, our hognose, a mixture of quails from Blake's farm, and they love it. It does them good. No issues with it. So make sure you guys go check that out. And it's directly from his farm to your doorsteps. So that's another important part. There's no third middleman in that. Now, Husbandry Pro is our partnership. If you guys are looking to take your husbandry keeping, all that stuff to the next level, make sure to check out Husbandry Pro. Use Clover 60 to get a 60-day free trial. And I'm pretty sure if you guys try it out, you're not going to want to go back. And when you try it out for a handful of animals. Put 5 animals in, for 60 days. Just track the information, all that stuff. And then once you are accustomed to those 5 animals, then add all your animals. Don't waste too much time adding, if you have a collection of 20 plus animals, don't waste your time just adding every single animal. Do a handful of things, track them, learn, play with it, and it'll help you out. And Husbandry Pro also has a store site for their users specifically. So it gives you another outlet to be able to put your animals for sale that actually helps moving your animals. So that being said, make sure you guys support any of these companies, support your start as a nonprofit, and make sure you guys hit the like button here, hit the subscribe button, and one more time, we got the Patreon going on, and I want to do a quick shout out for our Patreon members. Casey Golf Reptile Creations. We have the Herp and Harbin, Celicia, and Josh. And one of our newest, it's Angel, a Barton Art. Go check it out. Some pretty cool illustrations that he has. So if you guys want to join the family, make sure to check the first link in the description below. All right, Josh. All the housekeeping's out of the way, man. It's it's a lot to do, but I don't want to take more time from your episode. You just came back from a quick training, right, and jumping back into the things. Before we get into like your current breeding season, all that stuff, give us a quick overview of who you are, where you're from, and how did your love for reptiles and animals start?
Yeah, so Josh, obviously with Delta Hogz. I'm out here in Dallas, Texas, where my reptile stuff really started. I think in like high school, my dad had a ball python, and so I lived with my mom. My dad lived fairly close, so I'd go to his house like every weekend. So there was a little bit of exposure there. And then really I was more into fish, to be honest. Like I did freshwater fish, breeding a pistogramma species. And then I transferred over into saltwater. And have a salt reef tank and everything. And then I don't know what it was. I think I came across YouTube, and it was probably a snake discovery, like old school snake discovery video, when they were just in their house. And I think that's when I probably saw hognose for the first time. It kind of just, for some reason, something just stuck. And then I ended up buying my first one at just a pet store, with the intent of it just being a pet, just having one. And that was probably like 2017. At that point, I was deploying in 2018. So I actually found a guy local, Luis Chavez with Cowtown Reptiles here in Fort Worth, who actually took my snake for me for free, cared for it the entire time I was gone. Some reason while overseas, I came across Eslin and bought 3 more snakes from him, like 1 month in deployment. And he actually held them for me for like full 10, 11 months until I got home. So
nice.
He was just like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll ship them to you when you get back. So by the time I got back, I basically had my original female ready to breed because Luis Chavez actually broodmated her for me. So I got back 2019 December. So January, February, I was like, well, heck, I've got the 4 snakes now. I've got a sub-adult Arctic from Eslin and my female albinos ready to go. So I just paired them together, and that was my first actual breeding season. Ended up getting about 20 eggs, and then from there it's just been a rabbit hole falling down. So
yeah, man. And so what was that first snake you picked up?
Yeah, so that was I named her Saber. It's just a normal albino.
Okay.
Out of a pet store.
Yeah.
And then actually I think one of the first dates with my wife when I was dating her, one of our first dates was going to that pet store and getting the snake. So it's nice. One of her favorites. So
that's cool. That's cool. From like the beginning of your relationship, you started with the reptiles and stuff. That's cool, man.
Yeah. Well, I wish I would have started her sooner because it would have made this whole last 6 weeks a lot less difficult.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that because right now, you're in the reserves, right? So you have that, what you call that challenge of having to go away and stuff like that. But yeah, so high school started. So what with the fish and stuff like that, did you fully get out of it and just move on to reptiles?
Yeah, so I did. I just kept like planted tanks through high school, and then when I graduated high school, went military. When I got back from that, is actually when I started breeding epistogrammas, and I did that for probably about 4 years, focusing on like epistogramma cockatoides and some of the other small species like blackwater planted tanks. Like some of the times you couldn't even see like 5 inches into the tank because it's got so much tannins in it. So I started breeding those, feeding them brine shrimp and selling them locally. And then I just got out of it. I don't really know why. I think I moved once, and then when I moved, I just sold the whole setup. And then I went quite a while without fish tank. That's when I bought my first hognose. And then deployed. When I got back from deployment, I actually started doing reef tanks. So I what started as a full-on reef tank with soft coral, LPS and SPS. Since then, I've decided to not do some. It takes a lot of time, so I dialed that back way down. So now I just do like simple stuff, simple coral, some anemone, a couple fish.
Okay. All right. So compared to like the reptile and then the fish world, was there crossovers of same thing, like just environment? I mean, not I would say community and stuff like that.
I would say it's for me personally. No, I'm sure people who are more into the actual reef stuff and get into the community probably so. When I was in it, I didn't really like dive into the communities at all. It was just like the local. Here's what I got. Honestly, I'm sold most of them to probably local fish stores. And then there was like one forum online that I used just to talk to people, but so it wasn't like in depth. While I feel like the reptile and snake community is way more personable and way more involved, like with each other. Like it's just easier to kind of reach out to everybody.
Yeah. It's definitely probably a lot smaller as well, so that makes it probably easier to reach out. Have you been to the aquashellas and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I know I never honestly when I did fish, I never even knew like that was a thing, man. You could have told me there was a whole expo full of saltwater reef tanks and coral, and I would have been like, no, there's no way. It's too difficult to move all that stuff. But no, so I didn't even know about that stuff. I do now. I haven't gotten to one yet, but it's on my list. It's on my list to go to one.
Man, it's pretty cool. Me and Eslin vended one 2023, I think. In the same place they hold Daytona. And it was really interesting to see like everybody moving their fishes in, their tanks, their aquascaping and stuff like that. It was really cool to see that. And like you said, whole different type of like interaction with each other. Everybody was pretty much on their own, just concentrating on setting up their tanks and their aquascaping and stuff like that. It was a really cool experience.
I feel like the saltwater reef tank group is a lot more closer to being like reptile based as far as like reaching out, trading, selling in between each other, trying to keep the hobby away from stores. While freshwater was kind of just like, whatever, sell it where you can get it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because I guess with the saltwater, it's a lot more work that takes into it, right?
Yeah. Way more.
Yeah, so that makes sense of that small community, just like the reptile stuff. So, you come back from deployment, you have animals ready to breed. That 20 eggs is really good for a first year, even just getting it done. Now, from the time of buying that animal, how did you get to the point of breeding? Did you start just like watching videos online? Did you have somebody walk you through it?
Yeah, so I got that first one, like I said, for completely intended just to be a pet. And then some point overseas when I was deployed, I traveled a lot on that deployment, just across the country. But there's times where I was just down in Bagram on the air base and got nothing to do but work out and eat. So watching tons of YouTube. And I think that's when I really started to like deep dive into like snake discovery. There's a couple of people, I think in the UK, that I was watching their videos that don't really produce videos anymore. And then I don't know. Like I said, something about that first Hognose video I saw, just kind of something just clicked. I don't know. I just somehow became obsessed, man. So like I said, I bought those from Eslin. I got back, and then I think it was honestly that first season just going so well. Like everything was like perfectly done for me by someone who already knows what they're doing. Like they already donated. She's ready to go. I got a male from Eslin who's ready to go. So it just really worked out. And 20 eggs first season off of one female. I felt like that was amazing, and that kind of was like a high that I just kind of rode, and then got sucked into the whirlpool. So
and that's so easy to happen. I tell people all the time at like expos and stuff. That's like, especially with a hognose where they're not large animals, it's easy to get one, and then two, and then 10.
Yeah.
The increments get so add up so fast. And I think that's another plus about the species that we keep, because you can keep a decent amount in a decent size space and still give them what they need and all that stuff. Another plus I always tell people about the species that we keep and stuff like that. So 20 eggs, did everything hatch out the first season?
Yeah, so no, not everything hatched out.
Okay.
There's a lot of hard lessons to be learned in that first year that you're incubating something.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more information out now than back in 2019, so
Mm-hmm.
or 2020 even. So I think how I incubated those was just straight on perlite, and definitely was way too saturated perlite at first. So I lost a couple eggs to over liquid saturation.
Okay.
There was one point where I was kind of being too handsy with the eggs, like always wanted to check them, and I actually dropped an egg mid incubation cycle.
Yeah.
Obviously cracked it open or split it open. Partially formed embryo on the inside. So it's hard lessons to learn, but I mean, it's those lessons that kind of drive you each season, and you just keep stacking up to be more successful. So I think out of those 20 eggs, I hatched maybe 14. Yes. So
still pretty good success rate for the first round, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So
where I messed up was putting Arctic into my first mix because
trying to identify.
Oh, there's no way, dude. I sold albinos that were 100%, probably 100% looking back, Arctic albinos.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm not going to say it's Arctic because I have no idea.
Yeah.
And it's a scramble of trying to show people, like 20 different people, pictures of 20 snakes. And it's just like, they get tired of answering no Arctic, yes Arctic. But yeah, that's still something I struggle with to this day. So,
man, the Arctic thing, it's either, you have the two extremes, like, it's really hard to tell, and then it's like it's definites, right? It's such a variance. I hear people going like, I'm just gonna breed super Arctic, so I know that everything's Arctic.
Well, I started doing that, so
so that's an interesting route too for that. But that's such a great gene to put on into many projects and stuff like that.
Oh,
yeah. Not every single combo, but in a lot of them it works out.
I mean, I think it makes every combo nicer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, super Arctic on everything kind of just washes everything for the most part.
Yeah.
With some things it really looks good, but
mm-hmm.
But just Arctic is like, I feel it just makes everything look better. It just makes it crisps it up a bit. But I also suck at telling what's just Arctic unless it's on that far end of the expression. So So I've moved a couple of my projects to where somebody is super Arctic, just so I don't have to play the guessing game.
Yeah, man, that's a smart move. And I definitely see more people going towards that route as well. It secures everything, especially I tell people, even breeders that have been doing it 10 plus years, you send them a picture or even in person, you show them like, is this Arctic? And they're like, maybe, like this, there's still that guessing game.
I've had one this year that I've asked Jeff Galewood like 4 times if it's Arctic.
Yeah.
Just because each shed it's changing. It's like a sable and its head's getting pinker and pinker. Mm-hmm. Its body's getting more like fleckled throughout it. And every time he's like, I don't see Arctic. I'm like, all right. I'm just, I guess, being hopeful here.
Yeah. That's cool. And then sable too, that gene too, right? Like if you have a good sable lineage that has some good coloration, you'll start throwing those weird like greens, yellows, pinks and stuff like that. So it's another hard one once you add Arctic on top of it as well. But going from your first breeding season, how quick did it grow from there?
I would say compared to what I generally see a lot of people doing, very slow. But I did it intentionally. I have this thing with hobbies that I can kind of get like overly obsessed in them. It'll last me like a year, and then I'll be out of it. So I've done beekeeping, I've done freshwater fish, saltwater fish, gardening, working with certain fruit trees, and it's all just stuff like doesn't really stick. So I went really slow to begin with, just in case I got to a point where I was like, this isn't, I'm phasing out of this. Now I'm to a point financially in it that there's no getting out of it because I just have so much in it already. So, so I grew probably like 3 or 4 snakes a year at most up until last year. And last year I went a little overboard. I probably bought, I don't know, 9 or 10 snakes. And then I held back 2 for the first time because I never held back anything. So I've grown slow, but we also rent. So I don't have a whole lot of space. I have a home office that is the actual office. So it has the office desk for us to work in.
Yeah.
And then it's also the only room I have for like my hobby stuff. So it's like half the room's got stuff for other hobbies spread out all over the place. So I'm kind of getting towards my max capacity currently in what I have. Currently have 36 snakes that are keepers, and then probably about 15 left from last year that I need to sell. So, but yeah, so I think max in here is I'm looking at probably about 30, 38 what this rack will hold. So until I can get a new house and then have some more room.
Yeah, and is that a future plan of yours? Keep growing a little bit more.
So I plan to grow. So the other reason why I do it slowly is because I have a full-time job. So I'm working my 40-hour week. Every once in a while, I have to work a little bit of overtime. You stack that reserve army stuff on it, and that's 2 weekends a month, 2 weeks a year, and then whatever orders you might get on. So it's about, I have to be like smart with it. Like there's a fine line that you can go over what you can actually care for. And I don't want to sacrifice care. So I've been scaling up slowly so that I don't cross that point. It's not really the adults that's going to be the problem. Like you can care for 40, 50, 60 adults easy. It's when you start having the 100, 200, 300 babies popping out that it's going to seriously overcome you. So I've been going slowly, and then each year I'm slowly breeding more. So it's a small scale. Maybe what I have now when they're all breeding might be too much, and then I'll have to focus on what I want and filter it down.
And you said that you haven't held back anything yet, right? From your productions. Is there a reason why?
Yeah, so the way I scaled it was based off of knowing I don't have a lot of room. So there's just so many things and so many morphs I want and I want to be making that I have to be careful on how many duplicate projects I have. So it's like I'd rather go buy what I know is going to make it. So most of my stuff is like, if it's a double recessive trait, one of the snakes is visual for it, the other snake is visual for the other. That way I get at least what I'm looking for, and then a variety to give out. So I have a variety to sell for what people are looking for. So it just helps me. Yeah, so I just didn't hold anything back because I didn't want things duplicated. But now I'm getting to year 5, right? The snakes are only good breeders for so long. So I've had to start looking at, I need to hold something back to replace these breeder females or these breeder males in case they stop producing well. And then there's some things I produced last year that I thought were killer. So there's no way I was letting them go. So last year I held back 2 snakes for my first 2 snakes I've ever held back.
Okay. And what were those?
Yeah. So one was a Mai Tai male. And I held that back primarily for the reason that I have a Yeti female that I don't want to produce more snows. I found snows are super saturated, especially in the Dallas area. We've had a lot of breeders that have popped up and they grew very fast, and a lot of them are producing a ton of snow. So I wanted to use her to make quad heads with that Mai Tai. He wasn't ready this season, so I ended up making more snows anyways. So I held him back. I don't know how good of a Mai Tai it is because it's the only one I've ever seen in person. So I think it looks pretty good. And then I have a killer sunburst female that I held back, who's just crazy saturated. So I held her back because, hey, I'm a sucker for sable. So anything sable kind of just pulls me in pretty quick.
Man, the sable gene, right? Like I said earlier, it's such a powerful gene in hognose. It's a must in any hognose collection, right? If you don't have sable and you're planning to breed, you're kicking yourself in the ass. It's really important. A lot of people like it. It just intensifies every other color every other morph that you combo it with.
Yeah.
And then you have Mai Tai, so you didn't have a visual Mai Tai in your collection, right?
No.
So I mean that's an important keep too. So you can start building on those eventually. And that's interesting because that discipline that you have of really dialing down on what you're going to keep and what you're going to let go, because it could be very easy sometimes to say, well, I like this, I'm gonna set it aside. I'm gonna like this, I'm gonna set it aside. That list can grow real quick, real fast. So it's very interesting to, see that the discipline of having, that you have a limited space right now. So you need to be able to keep that. And then, so what are your, year 5 is going to be, you're in year 5 or going into year 5? Next year will be in year 5.
So this season is year 5 of actually producing breeding. Yeah.
Okay, man, that's a milestone, I say.
Yeah.
I always say, like, anything worth doing and stuff like that, 5-year plans of stuff, those
Yeah.
increments little by little.
I know with breeding, it's like a 3 to 4 year
Mhm.
hiatus. I kind of see where you'll have breeders pop up and they'll go like 3 years, and then they'll pull out and they'll sell everything.
Mhm.
So once I passed that 3-year mark, I was like, okay, cool. This is gonna be long term.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie though. There's about once every year that I'm just like, is it just easier to get out? Is it just easier to get rid of it all?
Yeah.
But at the end of each year, I'm turning a profit. Not a huge profit by any means, but I'm turning a profit. I'm enjoying it. All the snakes are taken care of for and healthy. So it never really sticks in my mind very long.
That's good, man. So you mentioned that you did a couple different hobbies before this, and you've gotten in and out of them. What made you stick to this so far?
Yeah, so I think the biggest one is honestly the financial input, in which I'm already in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, I've turned into the green on every year. So
nice.
I've made at least, whether it's $5 into my pocket after expenses, or whether it's $1,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
Even that first year, I did turn a profit off of those 17 or 14 eggs that I did sell. So I think the big difference is like this is paying for itself.
Yeah.
At the very least, it's covering the majority of it. The fish, they never did that. Working with the bees, it never did that, and I got stung a couple times and was like done with that. So, but yeah, so it's the first one that's like I'm financially invested into a point, but it's also financially investing itself, I guess I should say.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, and that's such a, just being able to maintain itself is such a big important part of it, because once you don't have to dig into your own personal pocket to feed them, to maintain them and stuff like that, it's such an upside. After that, once the collection is taking care of itself, then it's up from there, I say, right? For the 100%. Most part, unless something major happens, you can't sell an animal, single animal, whatever it is. But I do see, like you're saying, those people that are, 2, 3, 4 years in even, and then let everything go. And from when I got in, I'm starting to see a handful of trends now of those people around the same time, when it started breeding and stuff, and I didn't think I would see this soon into Hognose, but where like people just selling full collections, but it's happening, right?
Yeah.
We'll see how it continues to happen, if it slows down or grows. But then there's also people coming from other species getting into Hognose as well. So we'll see how that thing is. Now, from 2017 to, let's say, today, what is the biggest like growth you've seen in Hognose, just in general, the morphs, or like just the community and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I gotta say, like in 2017, I was not part of the community at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I didn't post anywhere, didn't have a name. I don't think I actually made Delta Hogz until late 2020. But where I think it's grown the most is not only just like keepers and people wanting them as pets, but also breeding, right?
Yeah.
So in Dallas, when I started, there was 4 or 5 of us, including myself. Some big well-known names like Justin over there in Fort Worth with the Extreme Red stuff, and then Taylor Vaught, and then Louis Chavez. But there's like 5 of us. There's probably, I don't know exactly how many, probably a good close to like 20 to 30 of us right now in the Dallas area.
Wow.
And it's been really interesting because there's several of them that like reached out to me in my infancy asking for advice. And now some of them are like got collections like 2, 3 times the size of mine, just because they had different buying abilities and different space. So, but yeah, so it's actually kind of cool because we all talk like really close knit, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll send me pictures of their clutches hatching. I got text today of somebody hatching their first Arctic sunburst.
Nice.
And it's just awesome to know, like, hey, I gave them a little bit of advice and they compiled that with other people's advice and they're having success. So I like the community that's being built off of it. And that goes far past just Dallas, right? That goes across the country, across the pond to the UK.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to quite a lot of people all over the place. So it's just nice that, and it's just growing more as we go. So
yeah, no, man, that the community I think is really interesting to see. Like I think in the last 4 years, I would say it's grown exponentially year by year. You know, you see it. First of all, you see it on Morph Market, the amount of animals that are, which it's crazy because like I say the amount, but still is so small compared to some other species.
Yeah, like ball pythons.
Yeah, like ball pythons. Let's say like crested geckos, stuff like that. It's still very a small niche community and amount of people that are looking for hognose or that are available out there. But I think that's gonna change soon. I think with the demand, right?
Right.
More people are really starting to see how cool these little animals are. That there's some cool morphs, all that stuff. Especially once we really start seeing a lot more like quad visuals or start seeing more like Swiss, like line bred stuff. People are gonna definitely jump onto that. It's just gonna, I think, just keep on growing the next couple years.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be an oversaturation actually. Maybe not in the next 2 years, but like 3-4 years out.
Mm-hmm.
Within that time frame, I think we're gonna hit almost an oversaturated market zone. Just because of how many people in the last 2 years have said, hey, I'm going to start breeding, right?
Yeah.
They'll be producing and there'll be an influx of in the market. But you're right, like the market is growing rapidly. So maybe that'll absorb that incoming flux. But I think we'll have that fluctuation. But like we said, a lot of people will drop off at that time zone too.
Mm-hmm.
3 to 4 years in, they'll decide, hey, these don't sell as easy as I thought they would, right? It's not as easy money. There's expenses I didn't account for. The amount of baby bins I'm having to clean constantly from spilled water, I didn't account for that. So yeah, I think it'll pit a bit and then it'll come back up. But I mean that's the same with every market, right? Like ball pythons do the same thing.
So. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's just it's basically if the demand grows, and we'll be okay, right? And I see it growing just because, like I said, more people are jumping into it. More hobbyists start getting into just a hognose as pets, and you and me both know it. Like that one pet easily turns to 10.
Yeah, very cool.
In hognose, with the baby season and stuff like that. I think that's one of the hardest times of the years and busiest, right? Like trying to feed all those little mouths, the cleaning, all that stuff, because as much as they eat is the same amount that they poop, right? They spill their water, all that stuff. So what is your plan? How do you manage baby season and then your 40-hour plus work week and stuff?
Yeah, so that's when it really is important to scale appropriately, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's I'm not to the point where that 40-hour work week is impeding on my care.
Mm-hmm.
So basically I'll come home from work and really just like 2 hours in here, right? If I spend an hour and 30 minutes to 2 hours in the snake room, I can get most of my stuff done. There's plenty of times where my wife's got a little bit of a chore list for me also, and maybe I could change the bins out, but I don't have time to clean them. I don't have time to sterilize them. So they'll stack up. So there's been times where I've come in here and I've got like 50 baby bins stacked up that need to be cleaned. I'm just like, damn, I need to go crank this out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really just time management, really, man. You gotta understand that, like, yes, I have a full-time job, so I can't just crank out 200 babies in a year because I don't have the time to care for those babies. The adults, like, yeah, you gotta spot clean. You gotta check their waters. They're easy. They're not spilling their waters all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the bins with the built-in cup holders in my Freedom Reader bracket, so they're not spilling their water. At most, I'm just changing a disposable cup. The babies, I've been struggling, man. They'd be tipping the water. Even my wife was like, I've got to change these out every couple of days because they're spilling water.
Yeah.
I've tried 3D printing stuff. I've tried just putting cups in there, little glass containers. So I can't remember who, but somebody on Jeff's Discord, I think pointed out something that you shared, which was just like the PVC pipe cut with like a 1 ounce dish in it. So I'm gonna probably go to the store and buy a bunch of PVC and try that because they're about to make me buy like a feeder breeder 9 rack or something, like a ARS mini just to put them in. Because
what are you currently keeping them?
Yeah, so I got them in just like this is a dirty one, but like an I-80.
Okay, yeah. The VE, the Vivarium Electron, yeah.
Yeah, so I've got one that's built by or sold by Reptile Basics from VE, and then I've got one from Sea Serpents.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I just ordered another Reptile Basics one because I'll probably need it for this season. So that's what I keep the babies in. They go on the small one. Once they get to like 20-ish grams, I put them into the bigger one. And then hopefully they're sold before they need to be upgraded again. Because next thing I go straight into a Freedom Breeder 10 which is really the male's bins on this Freedom Breeder rack, which is about the same thing as what ARS 1078 or something like that. Okay. And then I use the Freedom Breeder 20s for my females, which is about the same as the ARS 3050 or 5030. I don't remember what it is. It's like 33-ish liters.
So, okay. Yeah, for the adult females?
Yeah. There's a couple of my females that are just massive, and they probably do need slightly bigger bin. Like I've got one that's just absolutely massive, long, and she's pushing 400, 500 grams, not gravid. She went up to 680 gravid. That's
huge.
Yeah, I'm talking lean buck. That's the one that I had at the NARBC show.
I remember that. Yeah, so, she's a big girl.
She's the only one I got that's like, it's a little small for her, especially with the cup holder in the middle. So I might move up to like a 35, Freedom Breeder 35 or Freedom Breeder, I don't know, another size for her. Yeah. Then it's like, how many tubs am I getting for what currently only one snake has a cheap size? So
you might be better off. A tank or
like a glass display tank.
Yeah, man.
She's also like 9 years old now, so this is her first year breeding at 9 years old.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. So I got her. She was posted, or somebody sent it to me off of Craigslist. And they basically sent me on Facebook the Craigslist ad. Said we just posted her on Craigslist. We need to ground ASAP. They bought her as a hatchling from somebody who collected her from the wild. So wild caught, raised in captivity. Already, she was pushing 8 years old because I got her last year in February.
Okay.
So I actually went, picked her up, quarantined her, moved her into the rack, brought her to the show, quarantined her after the show, and then put her back into the rack. And then brewmated her and bred her this year, and she actually gave me 18 eggs. So
nice.
Yeah,
that's great. That's great.
So, but that was just to see, at 9 years old, are they still productive? Because I don't have any snakes that old. And I mean, she proves she's productive. So I might give her like one, maybe 2 years old, 2 years more breeding, and then she'll probably retire into a big bioactive display or something.
Yeah, and just be a expo animal, show off and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Like that's a cool thing. And it's funny because I'm starting to see some females that are in the same situation with me. They're just getting older, producing less and stuff like that. It's like I might, I need a ambassador animal that I can permanently keep everything away. People can actually hold and stuff like that. I think it's perfect time to do something like that. Now, you touched on the subject that's very important to reptile keeping in general, right? Quarantining and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Can you walk us, like, first of all, when did you hear about quarantine? When did you really start setting like, okay, I need to quarantine animals and stuff like that?
So honestly, probably I probably went 2 years. So I probably went, the snakes I got from Eslin, obviously. I didn't quarantine those, didn't know it was a thing. I probably went maybe 1.5 years after that. So I probably had like a total of 6 snakes at the time when I was like, wait, quarantine? What do you mean? And kind of didn't dive super deep, but deep enough to where like, hey, put them in a separate room. 2 months, 3 months. Nothing weird, put them in the rack, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably my quarantine for, I don't know, maybe another year. And then the last 2 years have been more like, hey, they're in there for 5-6 months. They start on paper towels for a mite check. After like 2 weeks of no mites, hey, swap them back onto Aspen. Any weird stools, any regurges, I'm swab testing and setting for crypto. And then obviously everything's separate. Feed them separate. No cross contamination as best you can do between other things in quarantine. And then I'm about to step it up more, just based off of talks we've had in Jeff's Discord. Hip Hogz is pressed on in a bunch, but I'm looking at maybe moving my entire actual snake room into being like a sterile setup. So having no cross contamination, or as little cross contamination as possible. Obviously, you're going to have some between mating snakes, like you got to put them together.
Correct. Yeah.
There might be a piece of Aspen that like flicks out onto another bin, so it's like it's not going to be like a zero sum sterile, but I'm going to try to do it as much as possible. Swapping gloves between holding snakes, disposable feeding utensils. So I use metal tongs now that I soak in a peroxide dip each night. But each night's not helping you moving from one bin to the next. So
yeah, correct.
So I'm going to move to like disposable chopsticks or disposable tweezers for feeding. They cost like 25 cents, so it's going to cost you $2 to feed your entire snake room. So, but yeah, so I've just heard there's been a lot more people I'm seeing coming up with like crypto incidents.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just putting that bug in your head. It's like, hey, maybe I need to start stepping up as best as I can.
Yeah. And I think that's a topic, like, it's very not touchy, I would say, but very like hush sometimes. And proper quarantining, right, is great. I think especially you have already a set up collection, it's a must. You need to quarantine it, watch the animals, see where they're coming from. The reputation of a breeder, it's another plus, being able to see where the animals come from and stuff. Now, you're talking about like sterilization. Are you going to separate your adults and your babies and stuff like that? Or are you going to just try to keep less cross-contamination and stuff?
Yeah, so for right now, I can't separate them all, right? It's a godsend that my wife will let me put some in the guest room when I have new ones come in for quarantine. So no, as of right now, on my coming steps, it'll be the snake room. Every individual bin is treated individually. The babies, they're still part of the main collection. They have no touch or anything outside of this collection. So I would treat them the same as my adult collection, sterile all the way across. I don't know. It's still something I'm working on, the details and processing. I'm still
because that's definitely going to add a lot more time to the process and all that stuff, right?
So it might need to be babies are treated as one. So like the whole baby rack gets one set of disposable utensils.
Correct.
Or one glove swap. But to be honest, most of these being fed, I'm drop feeding. So they're not really touching the tongs anyways. But they do spill their water enough that they're really not being cross-contaminated anyways, because I'm swapping the bins.
Correct,
But and then obviously you got to not just wash the bins, you got to sterilize them. So
correct, man. And I think the biggest thing about this is just having good husbandry care, right? Good continuous cleaning, water changes and stuff like that. Because even simple things as like a bacterial infection, stuff like that, can easily cross over to from one snake to another, just because there's dirtiness and stuff like that. And I think that's where, like, if you see any major outbreak and stuff like that, it's just bad husbandry keeping and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Like that.
And I've been pretty lucky so far. Like I haven't had anything or seen anything. There's one snake that I was thinking maybe crypto or something because it was regurging. I probably swabbed it 20 something times for testing. Always came back negative. And then somebody was like, well, what are you feeding it? And this was not a straight baby, but it was probably like 15 grams. So like not quite big enough for a fuzzy. So I was feeding it 2 large pinks. And they're like, well, that might just be too much lengthwise. for its stomach to handle. And I was like, okay, so I stopped doing that. Never regurged again. So I was obviously just feeding it too much that it can't fully fit that within its stomach.
Yeah,
causing it to regurge out. So sometimes it's little things, but yeah, I'm always watching, especially on regurg. If I see anything in my collection regurgitate, even if I know I caused it, I'm pulling a swab out of the drawer. I keep swabs in the drawer because RAS or whatever they are, literally down the street, man. They're like 20 minutes away.
Oh wow!
So I can literally not even mail them. I can just drop them on the porch in that little collection jar thing, and they'll grab it.
Wow, that's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty convenient there. And then once quarantine is done, you put it into your collection and stuff like that. Now, when people buy from you, are you pushing the quarantining? Are you informing them and stuff like that about quarantining as well?
Yeah. So I think most of the people I will sell to, I'll obviously do asking questions or just talking with them because I try to talk with everybody to see kind of, is this a one-time snake? Is this your only snake? You have other reptiles. Like, what situation is this? Do you have a setup ready to go?
Yeah.
I try to, to pick if they've got more snakes. Obviously, I'll always try to tell them, like, hey, you should quarantine regardless.
Correct, yeah.
Whether they do it or not, there's only so much you can do. But, yeah, everybody should quarantine. If I get a snake from Jeff Galewood, I'm quarantining it. If I get it from John and Mitch and AJ, it's being quarantined. So if I'm buying from the top people, in the industry and it's still being quarantined, if you're buying from me, it should be quarantined.
No, I agree 100%. It shouldn't really matter where you're getting from. I always say our minds are, once you start diving deep into this, you start getting a little conditioned to crypto, right? Crypto and stuff like that. And it is something you need to watch for and watch your animals, like you said, regurgitation, diarrhea, really quick loss of weight and stuff like that. But sometimes it could be a simple thing as a bacterial infection from, bad husbandry or a bad feeder or something like that. That can easily be fixed with a antibacterial stuff like that. But very important to watch
crypto and just never know.
Correct.
If it never stressed to the point that it presents itself, you could have that snake for 10 years before it's like, hey, all of a sudden it's got crypto. It's like you just always had crypto.
Which
is why I think there also needs to be like a little bit of leeway, right? If you're buying from even if like the most renowned breeder and it ends up having crypto, like, did they intentionally sell you a snake with crypto, or did they have no idea it's even in their collection? Because for all I know, I could have something in here that has crypto and it's just never presented. And even if you quarantine that snake for a year, it still could potentially have it. So I think that's the big scare that I've seen on crypto is just like you can do everything you can and it still may not be enough. So
yeah. And it's interesting because I've dived deep into myself. A couple years back, I read a what's it called? Not read. Sorry, heard a podcast from one of the doctors from the Orient Society, and they have the indigos, and they have gotten indigos from the wild that have crypto. So it's coming. They have it from the wild and stuff like that, and they've done studies where they want to see if they can cross contaminate and all that stuff. And there's some animals that they are subclinical or they've gotten rid of crypto just on their own, just over just time and being healthy and stuff like that. So that's very interesting to hear, where it's not detected. So it still technically has crypto, but it can't be detected because I guess it's healthier or wherever the case may be. It is very interesting to see. And they had talked about working on a cure for crypto. So that'll be interesting to see how, if they get there, how would that work into the hobby? Do you dose every snake that you bring in and try to kill it off?
Oh yeah, I would if it's there.
Yeah, man.
Dose everything, but
yeah,
hopefully it's something that happens. All that needs funding and research and money, and I just don't know how much funding there is for that. So. Maybe one day it'll pop up and that'll be great. Otherwise, we just got to do everything we can to
for sure
try to isolate our collections.
Yeah, man, I'll be interested to see how you develop that system that you're thinking about. Because it'll be interesting to see how either how much more time it takes you to do like a general feeding, cleaning, all that stuff.
Yeah,
But I
like
tell people, listen,
it's definitely going to add time.
yeah,
But I mean, is the time worth it? Is the question. And then from what I'm seeing with some other things I've seen, it might be worth it.
Yeah,
and like I said, I don't have a huge collection. It's not like
hundreds.
It's not like I've got hundreds of snakes I got to deal with. I come in, I've got 36 plus whatever babies I got. So an extra 15 minutes to swap gloves. I can afford that. That's not a problem.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And then once the quarantine and stuff like that, are you looking to, when you buy animals, are you looking for specific people to buy specific projects and stuff like that, or if somebody has a good animal, are you picking it up?
Yeah. So when I first started, I was picking up anything I could pick up, right? Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, like whatever was popping up, I was grabbing it. And that was again before I understood the importance of QT and ensuring you're getting proper animals or healthy animals that you know where they're coming from. So from there, I pretty much stopped picking up that kind of stuff. I did pick up like 2 last year from that, like local pickups. But for the most part, going forward, that's not going to happen anymore because like I don't have the space for just normal stuff anymore.
Random stuff, yeah.
So it's more like specialized kind of project stuff. So yeah, I've easily got like 7 or 8 breeders that I have 100% trust and confidence in that I would buy from. There's way more than that I would buy from that I just don't have the same knowledge of. A lot of my newer stuff is coming from, Fathom Hogz, John and Mitch over there, and AJ. Jeff Galewood, I've got a couple from, and I've got a Swiss girl coming next week.
Nice.
And then I've got a couple from Albie, and then there's a couple of others out there. There's a couple of others out there that I want to get stuff from. So like Brandon, I think, with Mellow Hogs.
Yeah,
I've talked to him a little bit, mostly about like quad het stuff because that's kind of where I wanted to start producing stuff. And I know he's kind of on the same mind track. So talked to him a little bit, not a whole lot, but yeah. So there's all the breeders, but most of the breeders I'll be buying from are like people that everybody knows, right?
Yeah.
There's definitely people here local that like I've talked to, helped start, or kind of trade information with. Like we'll do trades. Like they're producing stuff that I can still use, or maybe swap out a male in my rack, or swap out a female that's getting a little older. But yeah, so most of my stuff is now coming from like direct pipeline of particular people. My projects are getting more particular. So I'm not just grabbing up albinos anymore. A lot of stuff. I got Lemon Ghost stuff from Albie last year. Some frosted stuff from Jeff, and then the other side of that project came from Fathom Hogz. The auctions on Morph Market have been killing me. I'll be seeing stuff on there and grabbing stuff. So there's a couple things I got last year that like I don't know the breeder before I actually got them on the auction. But I definitely take my time to try to get to know the breeder, look up the breeder afterwards. And then everybody gets the same QT regardless who it's coming from. So
correct. Yeah, man. I think the diversity of buying from different people that you can trust and for that, to me, is important. I think once you get stuck in one lane, your projects can definitely go to a dead end, and then especially if you're going to continue breeding, and you have if you want to create repeat customers, you need to have different avenues for those repeat customers to also buy from you. So I think multiple lines and stuff like that. So I think that's an important part. And I think you're doing good in that, because I do the same thing, man. I've done a trade with Brandon. I have some lavender toffee quad head stuff from him. I got stuff from Eslin, Jeff, a handful of people that have some cool projects, and even people that started when I did, got some animals from them as well if they have a project. So you talked about bringing in a Swiss female soon. Are you now going to start moving towards Swiss stuff as well?
So I mean, me and everybody else, we all wanted Swiss, right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually talked to Jules 2-3 years ago about importing, way out of my price range at that time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I talked to him for like 2 days on it, and then I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to like afford this, man. Sorry for wasting your time. And he was cool. He was like, yeah, no worries about it. You know, he's a cool guy.
Mm-hmm.
But even now, they're still kind of out of my price range, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can I afford them with money I got from the snakes? Yes.
Yeah.
But the whole thing for the snakes for my wife is, hey, some of the profits from the snakes, that's going to our trips. So she likes to travel. So, so spending $3,000 on a snake is still not really something I've done before this Swiss. But this Swiss was on auction also.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what I got her for. I think it was like 30. I think it was like 29 or something like that, around the $3,000 mark. So
yeah,
it was just too good to be true. It's an interesting Swiss. It's not like super dark. It's got like some gold colorations across the side. I don't know if you saw it when he posted it. It was like a stunning golden colorated Swiss or something. But yeah, so my plan is to outcross it. I just don't see me buying a Swiss male.
Yeah.
Unless something happens, and I get something crazy on auction or something. But it'll probably be outcrossed. The plan will probably be to outcross it to the most insane outcross I can do to produce 100% visual or 100% heads.
Yeah.
So whether that's a Mai Tai, whether that's a sunburst, whether that's a snowburst, or something like that, just to get it into a long, big, bunch. I got a small amount of room, so if I can, create a triple head or something like that, and get into like multiple avenues with it with one clutch, and then start out processing it out. That's great. Or if I'm just producing head Swiss, whatever. That auction buy was really wasn't really thought about. It was just bought.
Yeah, it was definitely a spontaneous thing.
Yeah, so there wasn't a whole lot of planning. And then when I told my wife what I spent on it, she about had a stroke.
Yeah.
She asked to see it. I showed her a picture of it, and she looked at me blankly like, what?
She's like, you have one of those.
You have that in the room. And I'm just like, it's not the same thing. It's a little bit different. So,
yeah.
But, there's no thought. Hopefully it'll work out. I'm sure it'll work out regardless, but I'll find something interesting to do with it.
Yeah. No, I think right now, for people like us that have smaller collections and, trying to get into the project, it's the best thing to start out crossing. Yeah. You're trying to swing for visuals and stuff like that. I think you're shoot yourself in the foot if you try to go that route, because then you're going to box yourself into just that, right? Yeah. Where you're going to hit yourself a roadblock. I did the same thing, man. I went a little more crazy. I got a visual Swiss male, 2 years back. So was it? So he bred this year. Female's actually laying right now.
Nice.
I'll cross her to a purple line extreme red super conda albino pos head Xanthic from Jeff's line. So getting some line bred traits in there, and then getting some double heads. So that's going to be interesting to see once they come out. Everything conda. Most of the stuff, I mean, not most of it. I'm going to keep probably a 2.2 to see. Let's see what hatches out. But if I get a good amount of eggs and a good amount of hatches, I'll probably keep a 2.2 and then let go of the rest. The same thing. I don't have the capability to keep a whole clutch of let's say 10 plus animals. And honestly, what am I going to do with 10 conda double head stuff? We'll see. I also have seen, it's crazy thing because those lineages, the way they were bred, and a lot of stuff has albino and stuff like that. I've heard of people within last year hatch out albinos out of their visual Swiss. So that'll be interesting to see. Always keep hopes up.
Yeah, albinos just hidden and mixed in everything at this point.
Yeah, man. It's very hard to keep like those the albino lines out of certain projects.
Yeah.
So
even if they just don't know it's there. Like they don't know what's in there when they're selling it. So
yeah, man. It could have been 3-4 generations down the line, but there's still a possible chance it passes down, right?
Yeah.
And it's floating in there and just magically hit the odds.
You don't get that luck with any other morph, but only albino.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. I had that happen last year, and it was interesting. So, but with your breedings, getting down to like, you know, today and this breeding season, what are you pushing for this year? What are you really looking to, to hatch out?
Yeah, so this year my first toxic maker clutch is going. So I should have, if the odds pan out, because it's some toxic stuff. Man, I got so much stuff going. I can't even remember, man. It's like when you're used to just having 2 clutches to talk about, and then now you got 9 to talk about.
That's cool, man.
So I've got my first super Arctic and super Arctic albino pairing going.
Nice.
I've never produced a super Arctic or a super Arctic albino, so that's going. It was her first time going, and she dropped me 6 massive, like elongated eggs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of cool. I wish there's more, but I mean that's cool.
Yeah.
But I got the toxic stuff going. Some RBE toxic stuff also. My first hopefully maybe lavender pairing. The female is an Arctic, possible lavender, and then I bred her to a male that I call the Anointed, because he's a super conda, triple het, toffee belly, xanthic lavender, RBE pastel.
Nice. That's nice.
So he's got a little bit of everything in him. But so hopefully she proves out, and I pop my first lavenders. So lavenders and toxic are the big ones for this year. Last year was my big year where I hit like my first visual sable, my first Mai Tai, my first toffee, my first sunburst. So I had a whole bunch of stuff pop last year for my first. But
that's cool.
Toxics I'm excited about though, because I really dig the wire snakes, and I don't think I've seen a toxic in person because I don't go to a whole bunch of shows. So.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool to see it for the first time.
Yeah, man. Toxics are, I said it before, one of my top, one of the top things I saw. That's what got me, once I saw one, even online, not even in person, that's what got me like down the breeding path. I go, man, that would be cool to get, to produce.
Yeah.
Luckily, my first year breeding, I produced a handful of them and stuff like that. So I was happy. I had RBE pastel in it as well. So I produced some really, really nice toxics. The female, that's one of the last female that my toxic producers, my last female that is getting ready to lay. And she looks like she is full of eggs. So hopefully we get big clutch because they're great movers. That, Xanthics and stuff like that. Great for, be able to sell them, and even for the shows and local shows, people love the contrast of a toxic and the Xanthic.
Yeah, Xanthic is probably my favorite. It's not my favorite morph to work with, but it's probably my favorite like individual morph. Just because it's, I don't know, I just love the black, the white, the gray, the silver, and then they just vary so much. I've got a strain that the spots just kind of like fade away as they age. And it's just almost becomes like a muted gray all the way across.
Nice.
You can just barely tell the spots are there. And then I've got a line that's like high black contrast outlined on the Xanthic, and it's just it's like a cool mix.
Yeah.
Plus, let's be honest, everything you mix with Xanthic just makes something better. So,
man, yeah, that's one of the genes that is just a great plus, right? Like we talk about 2 great genes, Sable and Xanthics, great looking animals, right? And then to me, once you add the toffee in it, it just sets it off. The acid rain stuff. I'm a big pusher for that project. I want to hopefully, in 2 more years, hopefully I could hatch some out. So that'll be cool to see. But I want to see. I haven't seen an adult yet. I've seen smaller, like baby pictures here and there, but I haven't seen an adult. So that'll be interesting.
I don't think I've seen an adult acid rain. I saw my first storm cloud in person at NARBC. And I believe it was adult female that he had out there.
Okay.
What was that guy's name? Dang. I'm going to hate forgetting his name because he's from Texas also. Down in Killeen.
Van?
Yeah, Van. Yeah, I think he brought out a adult female storm cloud to NARBC. Yeah, some of these things, like I see them in photos, I'm just like, who cares?
Yeah,
I don't care. That doesn't look cool. Like Frosted, I was like, who cares? Then I
such a
saw
cool.
Frosted on Island's table in RBC. I was like, oh, that's why they care.
Yeah.
It was the same thing with Sunburst. And like photos, like whatever. The second that thing popped its head out of the egg, I was like, okay, that's staying here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sometimes you just got to see it in person, man.
Yeah, that's one thing I tell people is like, if you can get out to a show where there's going to be a breeder that has some variety and stuff like that, like you said, like going by Aslan's table, you see the variety of animals that he has, and then you start seeing, okay, this is why people are working on this project. This is why so many people are talking about it, because once you see in person, it's a whole nother level.
Yeah,
you know, and especially if that person has line bred certain traits into it, just another better part. That's one thing I've said about Swiss so far. Yeah, we have seen a handful of combos come out, but to me, they're not being added to line bred traits yet as much as we see.
Yeah.
So
it's just like the blank combo, right? It's not like the perfected combo. So it'll be fun to see. I can't wait to see the Storm Cloud Exanthic combos start getting just popping a bit more. I haven't seen a whole lot of the pictures of the combos people have been making. Just because I've been so busy really the last 10 months or so that I haven't really been as active on socials, but I'm excited to get a Swiss and to see what I can do with it. By the time I'm making anything, everybody else will already make it. I think the running joke I keep saying on the Discord group, which I might actually do, is try to make the first visual Swiss Lucy, just to say like I did it.
That'd be funny. Do you have Lucy's in your collection?
So nothing visual. I have 2 females that are het, and then a male that's het. Nice. So one girl will be ready next year. The other one was a 2024 baby that I just traded with somebody. And then right after I traded them, I got this girl on an auction. So I was like, I already said I'll trade, so I'm going to honor that, and I'll go ahead and trade. Yeah. But yeah, so hopefully next year, I'll pop a Lucy, maybe a Lucy boy, and then when another year or so, that Swiss will be ready to go. And
double head Swiss Lucy.
Take my double head Lucy Swisses.
Yeah, man, that's funny. Yeah, and then so that's a route. But are you thinking about any other potential pairings for that Swiss female?
Yeah, it's endless, man. Like I said, the more serious answer that I'm planning to probably do is to put something that's double visual to it. So whether that is a storm cloud by that time, whether that's a Mai Tai, a snowburst, maybe something with lavender in it. I don't know, maybe toss a super Arctic lavender or something like that to it. Yeah. It's really going to depend on like what is everybody else doing. Just because this is the first time I've had a morph so close to it like being released throughout the U.S. So there's still like endless possibilities to do stuff with it.
Yeah, there is.
So in all honesty, this is probably like my only shot at a world's first. So we'll just have to see what's going on. Yeah. Like I said, we're still looking 6, 7, 8 years out before that would even be a thing. So it's also kind of crazy thinking, 8 years out at the same time.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but I think Lucy would be my best shot at that world's first because I just don't see anybody else wasting that pairing. So
yeah, man. With and with like that stuff, I don't see too many people putting sable into it either because of the possibility of hard to identify this and that. Yeah. And just this weekend I was going through Jules' Instagram and just like, and if Jules, if you watch this, man, it is hard to go through there and not see any identification of what the animal is. You know, so you're scrolling, it's like, I think it's this combo, but is it really?
He'll just put what he calls them. So like, he'll just say like tangerine. Yeah. And like the first time he posted that photo, I was like, what the heck is a tangerine? Yep. It's like, I assume it's Swiss, but is it albino? Is it PPA? Is it toffee? Like what's in here? But yeah, some of them are hard to do. I know he's done a Swiss sable mix when he was trying to prove that it's not the same thing. So, I haven't seen any photos of visual combo of it, but
Yeah, man.
At that point, it's like, why though, right? Unless it blacks the snake out, and then
correct. And I think that's the only route, right? Like if you're gonna go for like a a full black, like let's say super Arctic Swiss sable.
Yeah.
Like
I need Jeff Galewood's Super Arctic Sable line, and then I need a really, really dark Swiss.
Yeah.
Because some of the Super Arctic Sable stuff he's making is insane.
Yeah.
It's like almost black completely with a little bit of white flecks. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. So that'll be interesting to see. Like if we can get a full black, black pattern, black background with black eyes, that'll be really interesting to see with a hognose.
I'm just waiting for the day that somebody does a pairing and it just pops out, man.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of crazy to think about. But there's so much stuff that's just in like the last 5 years that just popped out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So whether they've told people about it or not yet, but there's definitely morphs out there that have, in the last 5 years, have just popped out of clutches randomly. So
yeah, for sure, man. And Albert said he wants to make the super, super, super sable Swiss.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, and I think that's one interesting part about the hognose hobby too. For the most part, everybody takes their time to really like diligently prove things out. Okay, this popped out. Let me take the time to really prove it out, see what's going on with it. We're such in infancies of morphs and hognose that look at ball pythons. If ball pythons could be a indicator of where we can go, then we're 20 years behind, right? Like it's wild.
And some of that stuff is caught with like the most minute change, right? And it's just like some of the stuff is like, I don't know how you noticed that. Like I would have produced 200 of those and not known that was there. So that was like I don't remember if it was John or Mitch, but one of them was, I think hopefully they've already put this out. I'm pretty sure they have. Talking about the cantaloupe line that they were looking at, and they thought it might be like a new morph coming out, and then I think they decided that it's just something that's polygenic, but and not a morph. But it's just like you can show me pictures all day of what you're calling a cantaloupe, and I'm just seeing like a normal. Like it's
yeah.
But again, it's also person versus photos, and they've just been in it so long that it's just something different. They're just like, hey, something's different.
Correct. Yeah, man. And I think over time, just trying to like identify certain things. Once you start seeing hundreds of babies come in and out, then you start picking out different variations in them and stuff. And then if you have a bigger setup, then you can easily, all right, let me put that aside. Let me see if it turns out to anything. Let me see a couple sheds, because another thing with hognose, it hatches out one way, and 5 sheds down the line could look totally different as well.
Yeah.
In most of the times, it's a good change.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
so like RB Pastel's one.
Yeah.
That it's just like, I won't sell them till like 2-3 sheds.
Yep.
Just to see, because I like it's already hard enough for me to tell, like, yeah, this is for sure pastel.
Yeah.
But give 2 or 3 sheds and it's like, okay, yeah, this is much more obviously crisper, cleaner, saturated than its siblings. So
yeah.
But that, and I think some Arctics too, like some Super Arctics. Like you can have Super Arctic that's just like, hey, it's a Super Arctic, whatever. And then 4 sheds later, it's comes out near black. It's just like random, but yeah, sometimes you just gotta hold stuff and see what it does.
Yeah, man. And so I did that with my RB triple head acid rain stuff I made last year. I held back like stuff that I could like identify as RBE pretty good. Was what's it called? I held back. It was like about like 15. No, about like 10 animals, I would say. And I was like, let me see what it looks like after sheds a couple of times. I think like 2 shows ago, this one male shed for maybe like the 4th time. And from that shed, his hotel, the background went white, and just nice and crisp, clean. I go, okay, you're going to stay too, and that's 4 or 5 sheds down the line. To be able to see that good, what's it called, expression of it,
Right.
But it is interesting, and that's another thing too, where I think over the time, um, taking your time to like really take and see what you have, maybe not be in a rush to sell something so quick, because you never know what you can let go. Unfortunately, right, like you might let go that really badass animal one time, and the person messages like, "Damn, look what I just got out of this animal," or "Look what happened after a few sheds." But that's also great when somebody else gets a really good animal from you. It helps you out.
Yeah, I almost did that with this sunburst girl. Her brother, because I hatched two sunburst, they both looked the same. The brother shed and he doled out,
Hmm.
like lost so much saturation in that shed. And somebody wanted her, and I was like about to sell her.
Hmm.
And I was like, just let me hold off like two more sheds or something. She shed, same saturation. Shed
Yeah,
again, didn't change. I was like, okay, no, she's got to stay here.
yeah,
So sometimes you just got to hold it. That's coming from somebody who doesn't hold anything back. When I say don't hold stuff back, I permanently hold back, right? There's stuff that I'll hold back for like 5 or 6 months and see what I do with it. But um,
yeah.
I don't count that as holding back. That's just like putting a pause on selling it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So AJ had a question. Do you mind sharing your favorite normal?
Yeah, assuming
Um,
means just a normal, like no morph.
I'm guessing, yeah, yeah.
In which case, I can't share her because she's still laying her last eggs.
Yeah.
But it's the one that's on this main photo.
Okay, the one
That
you're
you put on
holding.
the thing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
her name is Chunkers. That's that 9-year-old wild caught
Hmm.
girl that I have. That's just massive. She's sitting probably about. I think before she went gravid, she was sitting at 460 grams, pushing 500, and then at gravid she went up to 670, and then she's down to 500 after just after laying most of her clutch. She's got 2 left in her, so but she should pop those out by the end of the night.
Nice. Yeah, man. And I think that's an important thing, like seeing certain, like you were talking about, differentiations and like little subtle hints in the normal, right? That get passed on. That's one I think one other reason why hognose breeding is so interesting, because it has been pushed forward to like polygenic traits and line breeding traits to be able to you know produce better animals instead of just pushing out just combos and combos and combos. You know.
Yeah. One of the things I've noticed with a lot of normals is that, like you said, they've been captive bred for so long
Hmm.
that they don't really look like that the wild look. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I do like about some of the stuff that Kevin Rhodes does is he brings a lot of like wild caught stuff in.
Hmm.
And at first I was like, yeah, why bring it in wild when you can get it captive bred?
Hmm.
But once I got this girl, it's like, put her next to one of my other normals, and then she just has so much. I don't really know what it is, man. It's like the colors don't change as crisp. Like it's a little bit more murky, a little
Hmm.
bit more like grassland trying to blend in kind of thing. And maybe everybody else is like, whatever, that's nothing cool. I'd rather it be like, cleaned out.
Yeah.
But compared to like the other normals, it's cool to not see it like line bred cleaned out or
Yeah.
line bred for color saturation, because some of my other ones are just like high red normals or stuff like that. So it's cool to have like the kind of like musky, dirty, like saturation level kind of going.
Yeah, man. Bobby posted something that he got a OD Green Arctic Super Conda from overseas, and I guess over time it was khaki. Um,
Yeah,
and I think that's another part of the thing about we're talking about new stuff popping out, where the green line, certain little hints come out, and slapping a name on it can be
yeah,
very risky, right?
yeah,
Because it could change, like Bob, what happened to Bobby, it could change, and it's khakied out. It basically is browned out, right? Um, and it just comes with age. And then I have seen like, I mean, with Lemon Ghost, it's yellows, but you do get some greenish pattern in there and stuff like that.
right.
So that's another line bred trait, right? Where so interesting, because like even if you breed lemon ghost, you get normals.
Yeah, maybe like one or two will pop lemon ghost.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and then you get normals. But it's another cool thing to see. Another thing with like limited space, you have to be very picky on what line bred traits you bring in as well, because eventually you can outcross so much, outbreed it, that line bred trait's gone, right?
Right. Which is why I've kind of steered away from projects orientating towards it. Most of my albino stuff is like high reds or purple lines. That's just because when I started, what I bought from Eslin was purple line stuff. Like my Sunburst Maker, the male's is whatever, like albino. The female's like a high red. It's not like extreme red or any like the name Brian lines. I'm just red. Like she's got a good saturation of red. Her underskin is purpley. That you see with like the extreme line, purple line stuff. And then the Lemon Ghost stuff I just got last year. Just because I think it was Albie. I think I actually won one from Albie. And I don't remember exactly. Maybe he can correct us if he's still on. If he sent me 2 for free or if he gave me a killer discount on another 2. I want to say off my memory that he gave me 2 for free. Like sold me 1 off the auction and then sent me 2 more for free. So now I got a trio of them.
Nice.
One is crazy yellow. When I got it, it just didn't look like much. And then it's shed twice now, and now it's just popping.
Yeah, man. So. And that's right, like the gamble you take in those polygenics and stuff like that, especially when they're young. Are you going to breed lemon ghost, or you think about throwing it into something else?
So that one, it was him who sent it to me. But so that he sent me a lemon ghost red outcross.
Okay.
A pair of those, and then a lemon ghost Woma outcrossing is the female. So my plan is just to put her to both those males, to split her to both those males, and just see what happens. I don't know if lemon ghost is going to be something that I go hard into. I'll just have to see what comes out. At the worst case, they'll have some kind of cool normals to sell, because you can always have more normals. They sell pretty easy, especially at the expos. I wish I had more. So it'll just be something to do. That was kind of a whim thing. I think I won one on auction, and then I was talking to him, and then he said, "No, you know what? I've got some really cool like red outcross lemon ghost stuff. I'll hook you up." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And then when I got there, there was 3 in the box, along with some absolutely rank frog flesh that he sent with it.
Nice.
But I opened that up, and the whole FedEx office was like,
"What did you get?"
Get out, close the box and get out. But so now I got some absolutely rank frog skin or whatever if I need it in the freezer. But so he hooked me up on that one, so it'll just be fun to see where it goes. Lemon Ghost is also one of those things I haven't seen in person. So it'll just be cool to see what can pop out.
Yeah, man. It's funny because same thing. This year I picked up my first pair of lemon ghost. And to me it was the same things. Once I have a few breedings and I have more variety and actually recessive and stuff, I'll add more line bred traits. And then same thing for Lucy's. This year, same thing. I got a visual Lucy female and then a het male. And it's another thing that to me I needed to hold off. I thought, bring other stuff more stable stuff, toxic, all that, everything else in before those 2 lines. And then, it's interesting with the albino, I think everybody went into the red, the high saturation colors, where they're very hard to find the original yellow albino colors, like the head you have behind you, right? It's really hard to find that color.
So this is actually off of that. This is modeled after my first one.
Oh, that's cool.
The guy who made it spray painted it to be like her, but she's just like a yellow, kind of orangey yellow hognose. So that's
cool.
It's kind of cool, but I'm not gonna lie, I prefer the reds, man.
You do? So here's the thing, right? Thinking about lemon ghost into yellow albinos, or maybe a more of even I'm not sable into yellow albino, you know, morph into like that saturation of yellow instead of reds.
Yeah.
I wonder if it'll make a difference in certain combos.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
You know,
I don't know. I'm just a sucker for saturation, to be honest.
mm-hmm.
The most saturated you can make something, that's what I want.
Mm.
So like the sunburst hatched out, and it was starting. And I've seen sunbursts that are like more like cleared out in the middle of the spots and like less overly saturated. They're cool, but I'll take that super saturated thing hands down every time.
Yeah.
And like with the limited space, you just got to do what you like. So
for sure. No, for sure. You know, with your background, being military and stuff like that, I wanted to get into, you know, also a veteran here. You know, how did that, once you're coming back from deployment, you know, luckily you found people that could help you out keeping your animals and stuff like that. Do you think has helped you out with your breeding process and all that other stuff, like just your whole overall keeping?
To be honest, man, I don't think so.
No, really?
Like you would think, like cleanliness wise, like everybody's like, "Oh, you're military, you speak and spam clean." My wife would tell you the exact opposite. She'd be like, "Nah, he doesn't clean nothing."
That's funny.
But and I think it's just because it's forced on us so much.
Yeah, yeah.
When we are on duty or in uniform or through basic and stuff, and it's just like, hey, I don't want to scrub another toilet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to scrub a bunch of bins.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like when I clean bins, I do it as the easiest way I can. I soak them down in hot water to get everything loose. Scrub them down with soap. If the wife permits it and they fit, they go on a high sterilization cycle on the dishwasher.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they're getting peroxide sprayed.
Yeah.
But it's just like, nah, I'm not the cleanest person, man. Before I have somebody come to the snake room, I gotta like straighten up because it's not dirty, but it's cluttery.
Yeah.
I'll just put stuff places.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense why it's there, but the second
it's there.
I know it's there. Right there.
No.
So, but nah, I don't think it's helped at all. If anything, maybe just like not quitting kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because we kind of get like that don't quit, never quit mentality.
Mm-hmm.
So the few times that I have been like, maybe I should let this go and not pursue any further. It lasts like 5 seconds, and I'm just like, yeah, hell no, I'm doing good.
Yeah,
I'm doing great. I'm doing better than I thought I would. Why quit? So it's just kind of So it hasn't really affected me much. It affects you when you get pulled away from home, and then your wife is scrambling trying to figure out what's going on. But other than that, like I don't think it's benefited me in any way.
Interesting. Yeah. You know, and that's, you know, a topic I wanted to get into because in the middle of breeding season, when I first reached out to you to do the podcast, you're like, hey, I'm going away for training and stuff like that. So walk us through, like, how did that come, like, preparing for that? What did you have to do?
Yeah, so I guess it really comes down to about this time last year. I submitted a packet to go warrant officer in the Army, coming over from a non-commissioned officer. And from that time, I kind of know for the MOS I was going for, there's only one school a year, and it is smack dab middle of egg laying season for me. So, so I went to that school, the first set of that school in December, which is called Blocks. Came home, pulled everybody out of incubation or out of brumation. I put them all in brumation for that 6 weeks I was gone, so she didn't have to do anything besides check the brumator, make sure it's still going. Paired them all up February or January or mid-January, February was doing my pairings. By the time it was ready for me to go to leave for that next school in early March, it was like the first week of March. At that point, I kind of had, I staged everything, right? I made my pre-laying bins already, and I had them staged in the incubator. So she just had to pull them, put them in there. I had egg trays and bins already set up in the incubator. All she has to do is put the eggs on there.
Yeah.
She has collected eggs before. I think last year for like one clutch because I was gone for doing something. So, you know, I just ran over like simulating candling because I didn't have any eggs to show her. It's like a candle. Hey, there's an embryo there. Mark it with the marker. Put it in the bin. Put it in the incubator. Feeding was the big what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
So my wife has been hands off for the most part over the 5 years that I've been dealing with snakes. She'll come in and see like her favorite one, or show like one of her friends, Saber, my first one, She says she has like heart-shaped eyes, which is ludicrous, but she just has round eyes. But yeah, so very hands off. Never really done anything with them. So I had to teach her how to feed, and I had to break that down as simple as I could. So everybody's on like different feed prey items. So I drew a colored shape on the bin that eats that prey item. It's like all pinkies got a pink circle, and then all adult larges got blue triangles, and then I would basically vacuum seal all the blue triangles for that feeding into a bag.
Yeah.
And then take all of those different sizes and put it into a bigger bag and vacuum seal that. And I put 6 of those in the freezer. So she just has to grab week 1, grab it. I shifted all the babies to only eat once a week, just so she doesn't have to worry about it twice a week. And then all the breeding females that I knew were gravid or could go gravid, I put red clips right here on the bin. Like you can see, this one still has one on there.
Yeah.
That way she knows, hey, those are the ones you need to check daily. Look, you're looking for a shed. Once they shed, put it at the front of the bin. And then after that, you need to check the ones that shed every day, twice a day. Even though you got 10 days probably till they're laying, just check them twice a day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a huge learning curve. Makes it sound like I broke it down as easy as possible, but if anybody who breeds knows, like, it takes years to like get this stuff down. And she had like maybe 2-month crash course on how to do it. And she did it for 6 weeks. So yeah, she did a great job. There's a couple oofs here and there with like hydration levels of lay bins that I think caused females not to lay because it wasn't what they wanted. So I had a couple of late lays that caused some suffocated eggs. But honestly, she lost probably less eggs than I would if you took me back to year 1 and handed me the eggs.
Yeah.
So while I was gone, she collected 87 eggs, including slugs. And then I had a couple more clutches since I've been back over the Easter weekend. So I was at a whole total of 112 eggs so far. She collected 86 of them. We're down to like 60 something that are good just because there's so many suffocated. My Mai Tai girl had some infertility issue. It's either her or the male. So no, I mean, she did way better than I would imagine if you grabbed me, yanked me back 5 years and dropped me into the same snake room and said, keep up with this. So yeah, she did phenomenal. So obviously hands off to her. She only focuses on the negatives of it. Like, I killed all these eggs, but nah, she did amazing work.
Yeah,
so.
it could have been worse, right? It couldn't have been like
worse. Yeah.
You know, it could have been worse, or not have anybody to do it for you and stuff like that. It could have been just you could have written this season off, right?
Yeah, thankfully the community is pretty tight here. So I have like 2 or 3 breeders that are like relatively local that did say, hey, like, look, if you need us to, we can come and help her, or we can come do this or do that. Yeah. Thankfully it wasn't needed. The only reason I would have probably asked them to is if like a girl went egg bound or something. But luckily everything went as smoothly as could be expected. And she killed it. So she may not feel like it, but she killed it. So
no, man, that's great. That's great.
I'll probably tie her into my egg giveaway this year, just as like a thank you for all her hard work. Let her pick which egg is given away this year or something like that.
That's cool, man. You know, and Bobby made this comment, and I totally agree with him. He said you ran your wife through the drill, and you're military. And bro, look, and I think like subconsciously for 100%, you stage everything. You label things with certain symbols and stuff like that. That's 100%. That's military, like mindset and stuff like that.
I actually posted a video on YouTube of feeding. It was like titled "My Wife's Feeding" or something.
Yeah.
There's so much of that I had to cut out, just because like I was like, no, don't do it that way, or don't do it that way, or put it by her head, or hey, remove that water bowl.
Yeah.
So I just had to like filter all this stuff so it doesn't sound like I'm just sitting there yelling at my wife all the time.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, it was so stressful teaching her, man, and she was stressing too. We were both just in here like stressing and cussing at each other. But,
that's great.
I mean, it worked out. Oh,
yeah.
For some reason, every snake decided they like her, so they just all ate. I think I had 1 refusal over the 6 weeks.
Nice.
Which is pretty crazy. So I don't know what she'd be doing, if she'd be singing them lullabies or something while she's feeding them or what.
Like, look, this is your new job. You're feeding the snakes. That's
what I told her. I was like, you're gonna have to. You want those trips overseas? You're gonna have to come in the snake room and work them.
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, man. And you know what? And I've had the same, like either on my way at an expo or something like that, where my wife would like come and check in, pull eggs. I remember last year I was in Daytona, and I had eggs hatching. And she's checking them and make sure everything's going well and stuff like that. So, sometimes having another half that will definitely put into work is very important for that stuff. Um,
Yeah.
you know, with the infertility or egg binding and stuff like that, have you had have you had a year that, I mean, I'm guessing this year have you had a
Yeah,
good
this
amount of
year.
infertility?
Yeah, so this female is my Thai pair maker. So she's a
Hmm.
Sable Conda, 100% het toffee,
Hmm.
and I pair her to a double het Mai Tai. He's maybe Arctic, maybe not. There's debates on it.
Hmm.
But yeah, so last year was her first year breeding, and her first clutch was like 50% fertility.
Okay.
And the second clutch was like, again, maybe like 40% fertile. So I was like, okay, weird. Maybe it's her first year.
Hmm.
Sometimes that's in the play.
Hmm.
So I didn't change anything. I did the same pairing. And her first clutch this year was like 25% fertile. So after that, it was kind of like, okay, that's a red flag. I know I reached out to either John or Mitch, and I reached out to a couple other people, asking like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Like, I'm thinking it's a fertility issue. Do you agree with like this course of action? And basically, my course of action is I'm pairing her with a different male now.
Hmm.
One that would make it blatantly obvious, depending on what hatches, that it's a different male. So if she second clutches, it's not, hopefully, won't be a Mai Tai making clutch. It's just something with Super Conda in there, so I pop out Super Condas. So yeah, I mean, hopefully, I'm hoping, keeping my fingers crossed, it's a male issue, because he's never been put to any other female either. Only because I have other Mai Tai project boys that I can just swap in there.
Plug in, yeah.
If it's the female, it's gonna, I think it's gonna set me back maybe 1 year. I have a super Arctic double het Mai Tai female who might be ready next year, but it might be pushing it. So it might set me back a year on making more Mai Tai Sable stuff, but we'll see. Hopefully she double clutches and she's good to go and not a problem. So
nice. Yeah, man.
Go ahead.
You brought up another thing too, like having backup males, such an important thing, right? Where like it's sometimes playing that like strategics of like what genes am I going to get in the male. It's so important where you like maybe plug in a different male and still get some visuals or something like that.
Yeah, it's something I try to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
So when people ask me about it, I tell them like, yes, you should have backup males.
Yeah,
I don't do backup males, and that's just space wise. Like,
yeah,
generally I'll have a male, and once I know he's good to go, I won't worry about replacing or getting a backup male. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it bites you in the butt, like it did this time.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do have a backup male in this instance. It's just not ready to breed this season, so it didn't do any good. But yeah, I generally don't have backup male for most projects. I have stuff that'll work, like I can make something out of it.
Yeah,
because there's like one trait or two traits that coincide, but nothing that's like, hey, this is a backup male for this project. Don't have anything like that. So while I agree it's advisable, if you got the space for it 100%, try to have a backup male, especially for your big ticket. Most excited for projects.
Yeah, even if it's like only one side, if it's like a double recessive project, even if it's just one side of it, you know, where let's say Mai Tai, right? Even if you have like a sable het albino or albino het sable where you can produce some visual stuff. Yeah. Quick plug-in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where we're gonna start seeing where now we're gonna see more like triple het, quad het stuff where it's gonna be great for animals that are, or people that have like smaller collections, smaller space where you have one male or one female working with different directions with it and plug in different projects.
And like I mean, it's great, but it's also a double-edged sword in the fact that now all of your projects are related to each other.
Yes.
But yeah, no. Like I said, I was looking at the quad route too. My plan was for this year. The male wasn't ready. And it's mostly just because I like clutches that vary.
Yeah.
And it's really for two reasons. I love to look into a clutch bin or do an after hatch photo, and it just be like a myriad of colors. But it's also for the intent that I'm not breeding, 15, 20 pairings. I don't have the space for that. So I like to get a variety in case somebody hits me up saying, hey, do you have a toffee? You'd be like, yeah, I do have a toffee. It happens to be het sable. Here's the picture of the clutch. So I like pairings that, pop like on each end of the visual, especially for the double recessive projects. It's like my snow project every year is probably one of my favorite clutches because you get condas, super condas of normals, xanthics, snows, albinos, like all mixed in with purple line popping up in it. It just makes for a cool looking clutch, cool picture. So
yeah, man. And then I think like starting off is another benefit too, not having to shovel out such a so much money for either double visual towards double visual stuff, and then I'll guarantee a whole clutch of Mai Tais.
Yeah.
But to get there, right, like you have to put in a lot of money. And I think that adds to the pressure of producing, adds to the pressure of selling the animals and all
which isn't going to be easy.
No, it's a recipe. It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. If it's your first year and you're trying to produce, 20 Mai Tais, or even like 6 super Yetis. I get so many people asking if I buy both of these from you, I can make a whole clutch of super Yetis, right? I'm like, yes, you shouldn't do that because those are related to each other.
Yeah.
But you also shouldn't do it because can you sell them? Like it even to this day, like my super Yetis, I generally will have for 10 to 11 months before they sell. Unless I have somebody who's like waitlisted waiting for one. It's just like those high dollar value snakes. I try to explain it to people and I try to tell them I'm not trying to be rude, but if I was looking to buy a $3,000 snake, why would I buy from you versus going to JMG and buy it? Or, going to Clover's Reptiles and buy it. Someone who's well-known, has a face, has years of experience. Why would I not buy it from them? And it's something I fell into too. Like I was like, oh, cool, making Super Yetis my second year. And then that Super Yeti sat with me for 14 months. Yeah. Because I literally had people be like, well, I'll just go buy it from, Delta Hogz for the same price. I'm like, I can't fault you with that. That's good logic to me.
Yeah.
So I try to express to people like, make sure you can sell what you're producing, especially early on. Because if you hatch a big clutch and you can't sell them and they sit for 12 months, that's the kind of stuff that's going to make you be like, yeah, I'm done. I'm getting out. Yeah. Like it's not working. When really you just like overshot your marketability.
Correct. Yeah, man. Yeah.
And that's why I try to push people into like, hey, you're starting out now. You're planning your first pairing in 3 years. Get an Instagram going. Get a Facebook going. Like start getting some presence. And I hate social media, man. I absolutely hate it. Yeah. Like I'll do a scroll here and there, and like that's it. And half of my content popping up is like Hognose stuff, or just like old friends, and you're just like, okay, cool. But yeah, like actually managing one,
it's a lot. It's a lot, man.
Especially Instagram. Instagram is so like niche, like these little short reels, and you gotta like constantly be posting for traction. And it's just like, yeah, it's not my cup of tea. I attempt it. It's just not my cup of tea. Yeah. I got lucky somehow with my Facebook, and my Facebook's done pretty well.
Nice.
I think I'm at like 2,300 or something like that. Nice. Or something like that. But so yeah, that's been like a steady good go for me. But it's like Instagram. I tell people like if you're good at it, hop on Instagram because you can grow an Instagram account if you're active and good on it like quick. Don't ask me how because I can't do it. Yeah. I'm still sitting at like 500 or something. So
yeah, man.
And then the YouTube is just kind of like dipping my toes in.
Yeah, I remember when we talked about the YouTube stuff. But yeah, man, I think all the social media stuff is important at some level, right? At least at least just being in touch with the community little by little here, starting posting your journey, because I think that's another big part where people like to see the journey, to
Yeah,
be able to connect with, like, okay, they were there one time, let me see where they're at. I can take the same route. So I think
yeah,
that's another important part. That's why like the YouTube thing is very good, because you can actually portray that like journey from beginning to end, longer videos, longer, more detailed information through there.
yeah.
Where
That's one of the things I think that Jermaine popped off so quick on is because his stuff is like no fluff. Like, hey, let's get into the snakes.
yeah,
And that was pointed out to actually by my wife after my first like 2 or 3 videos. She was like, "You're supposed to be a snake channel, and you are just talking." It's like there's not a whole lot of snakes. I was like, yeah, you're right. All right, but yeah, so Jermaine's killing it. Like even in like the last week, he's posted like 3 or 4 feeding videos.
yeah.
It's just like, yeah, okay, that's obviously the content people are wanting. But yeah, I just like that he has like it's no fluff. It's just like this is what I have to do today
Mm-hmm.
in the snake room. Come with me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I need to tailor it more towards that, but not at the rate he cranks them out because I ain't got the time for
No, it's a lot, man. It's a lot, and I got to give it to him, because like when the what's it called, the morph videos he was doing and stuff like that were really good.
Yeah,
That I think that helped out a lot of people. I know I looked into it, and I looked at them a couple of times when I first starting too as well. I think that did a really good help and I think that helped him a lot with his traction of his YouTube channel, because it
I
was
think I
just
even rewatched one last week.
yeah.
Just to be like, wow, this is how far this morph has come since then.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. You know what? I haven't watched them in a couple years. I'm gonna have to go. That might be a thing to do tomorrow. Play and like, watch it and see. It's like, damn, that's crazy to see that in just a short time. How much we've developed.
It's kind of insane. I mean, I feel like as far as like hognose market and the world goes for hognose, like I've been in it for like a speck, like a grain of sand on a mile track. Like that's how much I've actually had an impact or part of the hobby, and the amount that's happened in that grain of sand is mind blowing.
Yeah.
Just new morphs coming out, new combos coming out, the expansion of the community, expansion of breeders throughout the community. It's just insane to me. It's just like it's been 5 years and all of this has happened. And then I try to think back to like Jeff Galewood when he was 7 years old, collected hognose, and be like, because some freak of a 7-year-old was out there grabbing snakes for just to bring them home. It's like now he's one of the bigger names in the hobby. So it's crazy to me to fathom like how much has happened versus where it started, I guess.
And that's what I tell. I think I personally, for me, and then what I tell people when they're looking to get into hognose stuff is like, think about the longevity of it. Don't think about like somebody was telling me, it's like, oh, I want to make a world first. I was like, you're going the wrong route.
Yeah.
Like I was like, you have like you're looking to get your first pair of hognose and you're talking about world first. It's the wrong route.
Unless you're thinking about a ton of money up front, then it's
exactly and as far in between people that have the money just to blow and stuff like that, because there's no guarantee with these animals, right? Like you can have a bad year and lose all your eggs or have no eggs, have shit fertility. It's a gamble every year. Unfortunately, female egg binding stuff. That's a big part of hognose. So I tell people, like, take your time, get these animals, raise them up. Think about where you want to be in 5 years. Think about it's like, or what's the quickest I can make a world first, or what's the quickest I can make out of these pairings. One thing I think was very like detrimental, like when I first started, was the morph market calculator. Jumping on there is like, oh man, if I put this animal to this animal, I can make this and this and that.
Right.
And after a few breeding seasons, I tell people, don't even look at that thing.
You're like, it's not even. I've never seen it before. It's never come out.
Yeah, the statistics of how that works, it doesn't work.
Yeah. I used it a lot when I started too, but I used it more for like trying to understand how the morphs go together. Coming from didn't work with anything like genetic wise, so it's just like, how do these morphs intertwine? what exactly is recessive. It was going back to like sixth grade science class. Like, well,
Yeah.
how does this trait carry on?
Yeah, man.
And that's what I try to tell people to go back to is that calculator. To like, don't pay attention to the 1 in 57th odds of it hatching, but like just use it to learn the morphs a bit.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, like, okay, if I put this to this, like I had a and if he watches, no shade to him, a gentleman come to one of the local shows here, and he was confused where he thought he can produce visuals with a visual to a normal with no heads, and he's like, yeah, I have this is my budget and this is where I want to go. These are projects. I go, your budget is way off.
Right.
It's like, because you at least need heads somewhere and it's going to add to your budget. Right. And he goes, oh man, he goes, let me figure this out. A year later, I see him at a show again. And it seems like he took his time, research and stuff like that. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to start with a AAA. He got a AAA for me. He goes, I'm going to start raising this and then work it out and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, now you're going down the right path where you took your time, looked at it, started with something that wasn't any astronomical, price range and stuff. So
yeah, I've had several people that are like, well, if I buy this albino and I put it with my xanthic, I can make snows. So I was like, no, that's not how it works. And then I'll have to be like, look, this is how you need a het at least on each side. And then after that, like I just don't have the time to break down recessive traits with 500 people.
Yeah.
So I'll give them like the quick down and dirty. Like, look, in order to make a visual, you're gonna need at least a het for each morph on each side. And then if you need to know more than that, check out the morph calculator to kind of or look up recessive trait and kind of see how it carries on. And then I also just try to break it down. It's kind of like blue eyes in people. Like both parents kind of have to have blue eyes somewhere in their genetic pool. And sometimes linking it down to that kind of stuff helps a little bit. But yeah, it's a big misconception with people when they're first starting. And it's also a red flag to me, be like, well, you haven't really done research. And then I don't say that obviously because I'm trying not to be rude, but it's like, I suggest like here's a genetic book by Kevin Rhodes, or here's this, or here's that. Kind of read up on the genetics. But most of the time they take that and they'd be like, yeah, you know what? I read up on the genetics and I'm way off. I'm going to just go to make double hets and then breed and try to make those visual later. But like, okay, that's a great plan. Here's what I have that can help you with that route. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And so with closing this out and stuff like that, like, 5 years, where have you looking to the future and stuff like that? What are you looking forward to, like, seeing out of the Hognose community?
5 years. It's hard to think 5 years, man. Out of the Hognose community in general, I just hope it continues to grow and not to stagnate or drop. And that's mostly because, yes, I am entwined in the Hognose business.
Yeah.
But also just because I think the more people that you have out there collecting or breeding, we're going to see more and more stuff start popping out.
Yeah.
So, like, ideally, I would love to see an all-black snake in, like, the next 5 years. I love dark saturation stuff, so that might be a project that I have to, like, just full hop onto and throw a band at or something if someone pops some all-black snakes.
Yeah, man.
Maybe like a clown or pied kind of thing going.
Man, I think we're all waiting for something like that. We've had little teasers here and there, but nothing that has stuck or really pushed forward so far. So yeah, that'll be interesting. And now, with anything you would maybe change or differentiate in the current Hognose world?
Yeah, so I guess it's more of like, what would I put out to somebody looking to get, into the Hognose world? And the biggest thing I could say is to understand how fast you should grow versus how fast you can grow. It's something I have to battle every year. and it's just sometimes you can go too far too fast and it ends up burning out. I know plenty of people who went from 0 snakes to 80 snakes in less than a year, and then to be mindful where you're buying from. It's something that I definitely suffered from when I first started grabbing stuff from all over. But yeah, you need to be mindful who you're buying from, and then just ensure you're quarantining. I'd like to see quarantine a bigger topic than it already is. I know it's talked about a lot, but there's still so many people that don't comprehend that it needs to be done and why it needs to be done.
I agree, man. I agree. I want to say with and then where can people find you? What's your next show? That's a big one. Do you have anything planned to do next show soon?
Yeah, so shows are something I haven't dove full into yet. I plan to. I need to start looking up local shows here around Dallas. I won't be doing any sort of traveling shows. So if it is shows, it'll be local around the DFW or at least the Texas area. At ARBC September, I'll probably still be going to. I'm debating on not doing any ARBC anymore here in Dallas just because it's kind of been kind of a fizzle, I think, the last like 2 or 3 shows. So, but it's going to be at least my one show of the year for this year, and we'll see where it goes from there. So I'll most likely definitely be at an ARBC Dallas in September.
For sure, yeah. I'll definitely, I'm probably going to make it unless something changes with production or something like that. So I'll definitely see you out there again. And I'm probably going to take a couple more days to go out for the show and stuff like that. So definitely, meet up and see what the local Dallas, reptile world is and stuff like that. Because usually it's quick turn and burns, go for it.
Yeah. Especially when you got all the snakes with you and stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, and Josh, thank you again for joining us here tonight. Any last words for the viewers? Anything you want to bring up before we close out the night?
Nah, I think the only thing I really got is remind everybody to be humble. I mean, you got people asking questions. Just remember, at some point you were sitting where they're at, and they've got questions. I know without Eslin, without John and Mitch over at Fathoms, and without Jeff, I'd probably be, probably not here. Because I blow Eslin's phone up for the first 3 years, like constantly. It's tapered off a lot now, but every once in a while I'll still hit him up or just check in on him. Or he'll do the same with me. John and Mitch are awesome guys. You message them a couple of times, they'll just be like, hey, here's my phone number. Call me. And they'll sit there and talk to you all night about hogs. And then you'll try to go to bed and they'll be like, no, I still got so much more.
Man.
Jeff's a busy dude, but he's always on his Discord or in his comments trying to help people out.
Yeah, once you get him going, it's it's a roll going down. Yeah,
he needs Crystal to come in and then pull him back away and be like, no, we got stuff to do.
Yeah. But you see, and this is like the power of the reptile community, right? Where like everybody comes together and helps each other for the most part. Nothing's perfect, but I think in the Hognose community we got it pretty good. Where people helping each other and just growing it together.
Yeah, I haven't came across too many bad apples. Few and far between, actually. Not enough to where I couldn't even name 3 off the top of my head.
Yeah, I agree.
Only really one is on my head, but people don't need to get into all that.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of times it fizzles out. It curbs themselves, right? Like they move away. They they get out of it and stuff like that. So pretty much eventually it goes from there. But again, thanks, Josh. Thank you, everyone, for tonight. Make sure you guys like, subscribe. And if you guys are listening on a podcast platform, make sure you come to YouTube, check it out as well. Guys, have a good night.